Welcome to my first video of my portfolio project. Woo! In this project, I will take you along with me while I'm building up my portfolio, and I think it could be interesting to focus on one challenge that I have for each project that I'm doing. And I came up with that kind of concept during the next video that you will see of that series, because I started to struggle a little bit, but you will see more of that in the next video. And this video is called Project Zero, or the character is character number 0, because I designed a whole world for my characters in this portfolio, but this character doesn't fit into that world. I designed this character to practice and to experiment a little bit more with layout with a human character, because I did that once with a not human character, which I will put in the screen, I think here. So I wanted to try or experiment a little bit more with a human character, and I did that with this character. I want to design 15 characters of one word, and those 15 characters will start with the next video. In this video I will explain you a little bit about this whole series, and also I want to go in depth about problem solving, because this was the huge topic for this character. So I hope you will enjoy it, and let's get started with video and character number 0. First question, who is the character that I wanted to design? Or the two characters, because this is actually a combination of two characters, one huge bird and one guy. The guy is called Guido Schütz, because this is a setting that is inspired by the German medieval time. And the bird is called Volto. I don't know, it's not very creative, but I couldn't come up with anything else, so I just left it. And I already wrote a summary, as you can tell in the background, of these two characters, so I will just read the summary to you. About Guido Schütz. Guido Schütz and his loyal bird Volto are scouts of the kingdom of Ornido. For the safety of their king and their people, they regularly patrol Ornido from the sky. So the first problem that I had to solve with this character was, how are the sizes related to each other? Because I had to settle on the height difference that both characters would have, because with that I could then work on the saddle and the way they interact, and maybe the way the armor is designed or anything like that. So I sketched out a few side-by-side comparisons to get a very rough idea of how I wanted to manage that. Then the next question that I asked myself was, how does he get up on the bird? How should that function? Because, you know, the bird is so huge and he can't just, you know, jump on it like you would do with a horse, for example. I mean, you don't just jump on a horse, but I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. So I figured out that he might use hand signs to tell the bird that the bird should come down. And then there could be a ladder integrated with a saddle, and he could just climb up the ladder, and then there would be a door in the gate around the saddle, and then he could just open the door and go inside. I also wanted to talk about the main inspiration that I have for this character, because the main piece, or the main thing that I saw that sparked the idea for this character, was actually a painting in the background of a YouTuber that I used to watch for a while. The painting is very blurred in the background of this YouTuber, and I had to look at it so many times. Every time I watched his videos I was like, damn, I really like this abstract painting. So I decided to design a character based on that. I know the colors don't look close to anything that you see in the video or how the painting looks, but I still, you know, I was inspired by it. Because I also am a huge fan of Art Nouveau. I was very inspired by Art Nouveau. And also for the bird, I was mainly inspired by secretary birds, even though I changed the legs and I also changed a few things. I mixed a few birds together, but the main inspo for the bird was a secretary bird. The saddle itself was inspired by saddles elephants were. It changed a lot. It doesn't remind you of that anymore that much, but I thought it would be interesting because of the height difference that elephants have to human beings. So I thought that would be a very nice way to figure out the first step that I could take in the design process itself. I also decided to design a separate page or draw a separate page where it explains this whole climbing up on the bird thing better, because I think that's a very important issue that has to be solved, and I thought it was worth a whole page to explain it. The next thing that I did was that I imagined step by step how that whole process would look. For example, I imagined that I would climb up that ladder, open up the gate, go inside, and then sit down. And how would I behave if the bird would fly? So I started to think about how the person sitting there, in this case Guido, is secure. And I decided to go for belts that are crossed around the body, because that way, even if the bird is flying very diagonal in the curves, you could just sit down and be very secure with the belts. Then the next question that I asked myself was, how does he even control the bird? How does the bird know where to fly? So I decided to look into horses and horse reins, and I did that, and then I stumbled across the next problem that I had to solve, which was that this guy is supposed to fly around and, in worst case, aim with a bow. And also he's supposed to look around very closely, so he needs his hands to be free and he needs his hands to be able to do stuff. And so I had to find a way how he would be able to control the rein without his hands. So I decided to go for pedals, and that was inspired by cars actually. And those pedals are connected to the rein. That means if he pushes down one of the pedals, the rein on that side will get pulled and the bird knows, okay, I need to go, for example, more to the left side. So I think that's a very good way of solving that issue. Then another issue comes up. How does he look around? Because he needs to look around. And that was actually something that I couldn't solve myself, because I was thinking way too complex. And then a friend of mine pointed out that I could solve it with mirrors. Like cars have mirrors on the side, I could also add mirrors like that on the side of the saddle. And I did that because I thought that was a very good idea. And I also decided to go for the shapes of the mirrors on cars, or on the doors of cars, because they are also already in a shape that is suitable for wind. I also wanted to go for glasses where I could implement the steampunk style that I wanted to go for as well. So I designed a few different glasses, and I chose one of them, obviously. And those glasses allow you to zoom in and out. Or do you call that zoom in with those glasses? I don't know. Then I also had the idea of maybe putting a lever underneath his seat that he could push with his feet. And once he pushed it, his seat is able to turn around. Because, you know, just in case an enemy is in the back of the bird, he can just turn around and then aim at him or them. Then I thought about, what if he has, for some reason, to defend himself in close combat? So obviously I went for a dagger. And I also tried to stick with the Art Nouveau vibe with the dagger because I really liked it. And the colors that I chose are also less saturated colors of the painting that I was inspired by initially. And I also tried to keep the dagger, the bow, and the arrows in a very similar vibe. And all three of them inspired by Art Nouveau. And then I designed the bow. I tried to, that was actually very difficult for me, but I had a lot of fun doing it because I really wanted to capture the essence of Art Nouveau that you could see, for example, in vases or glasses or even doorknobs. It's very nice, and I will blend in a few photos that I found on Pinterest, and then I also have in my mood board for this character. And I really tried to capture the flow these things have, because that is what I like a lot about Art Nouveau. It's the way they play with flow and all of these very nice artworks or accessories and stuff. It's just so beautiful and so pretty. So I really try to translate that in the bow and also in the dagger, and I will show you a few of the iterations that I made for the bow and also the arrow. Also, the arrows are very similar to the bow, as I mentioned, and they are secure. There is a fabric on the gate, and that fabric can be taken off. Because I thought about him taking the arrows with him and not leaving them outside. So I wanted to make something with very easy access and arrows that are very easy to remove. So I decided to go for a piece of fabric with clips on the back, so he can just clip it on the gate, and then, you know, there are also other clips where the arrows are inside. And then I also had the idea that just in case he needs to take it with him, he can just take it off and then roll it in, and then the arrows are with him. Then another thing that I asked myself is, what if he isn't supposed to kill the enemy? Because maybe the enemy has informations that the kingdom might need. So I went for a weapon in the arm. It's a crossbow, and also the nibs of the arrows are dipped into poison, and you can also see the level of poison that is left in the small little vessel. And then I also designed something to push down so that the arrow would fly away. I also tried to keep that one very steampunkish, to have more elements of steampunk in there, and also I still implemented a couple of Art Nouveau kind of very small little details that I also implemented in the glasses on the sides, for example, but not enough to make it look very good implemented in the character. The last thing that I asked myself is how he would rest, or what if he's hungry or he needs to drink something, because obviously he needs to stay hydrated. So I took a box in the back of the saddle with food and water and a blanket, and also a backpack just in case he needs to leave the horse and, I don't know, get wood or whatever, you know, on a mission. I don't know, but that is just in case he has it with him. I also put spare arrows in the box just in case he needs more of them, and also a small little bento box, as I said, for the food. And that is something that not everybody seems to recognize, but there's a pocket with a fork and a knife in it. You know, to be prepared. The bento box, the water bottle, and also the armor of the guy itself. All three things have the crest of the kingdom on it, so it would make it recognizable. And I thought it would be a nice touch because he does work for the kingdom and the king itself. Then I started to think about the colors. I wanted to go for, as I mentioned, for the blue colors, but I still tried a few different iterations because I wanted to see whether I liked something else better. Not only did I like the blue version better, it also made a little bit more sense because I wanted to go for a camouflage effect when they are in the sky, and a blue bird is less visible than a, I don't know, black bird. And also a bluish tinted armor is also less visible than, I don't know, a neon red one. I will keep the rest that I did for this character very short because that is not the focus of this video, and I will still try to give you a short summary of what I did to finish this whole character sheet. I also drew out a whole pose sheet because that translates the character that I wanted to design a little bit better, and it also makes you understand him better. So I drew 3 poses. The first pose that I drew shows him eating and also the bird eating, and I think it's funny because the bird is eating snakes out of a bucket, and also Guido is stroking Walter because I thought that would be a very cute thing to add, and also to show the bond that both of the characters have. The second pose I wanted to add because I wanted to show how it would look if they both are in the air and flying and Guido is aiming. And I also wanted to show that once the bird is in the air, the orange feathers that would be in the way of, you know, looking around and scanning the whole area, they would lie flat on the body of the bird once the bird is flying, obviously because of the wind and stuff. And I decided to go for a kneeling pose as the last pose because I wanted to show how committed Guido is to the kingdom and the king, and how serious he is about serving the kingdom. And I also wanted to show again the bond that both of them have, and also that the bird is quite intelligent, which you can see because the bird is also kneeling and bowing in front of the king. I know that the difference in height doesn't come out as well as it should come out, but I really wanted to put both of them in this image and, you know, give both of them the same strength and focus. So I just made it smaller and played a little bit with perspective, but I think you can't really tell that the bird is standing way behind the character. I didn't do that very well. If I would go back now or do it again, I would definitely change it up a little bit more. And then I decided to render the kneeling pose. And I need to say, I think that was the part that I struggled with the most with this whole character. I definitely need to practice more rendering. I think I am not bad at rendering when it comes to copying from photos. I know that I still need to practice that one as well, but when it comes to rendering something that I drew, and that is not exactly from photo, even though I have references, I don't know, I just need to practice that a lot more, and you can tell that I was struggling a lot with this. The bird is something, I usually don't render birds, or I rarely draw birds, so that was very difficult on its own, but then also the whole rendering part, and also I didn't want to spend like, I don't know, 20 hours on it because it's just a small little gimmick and a small little nice to have that this character sheet has to make it look prettier, and it shouldn't be the focus, and it wouldn't make sense to spend most of my time rendering this character or this one pose when the main focus is the design itself. Since I finished this character, a few months passed already because I decided to pre-record a few videos just in case I will get into troubles filming, and I just say I really don't like it, so I'm glad that I can finally put it online and then move on. I could go back, but I don't want to do that because I still want to show you my progress and how much progress I've made. But other than me not liking the rendered version, I need to say that I'm overall happy with this character. I really like the character sheet where you can see the items. I still think it turned out very nice. And I also like the sheet where you can see the saddle in detail, and also the sheet where I explain to you how he gets up on the bird. I think those sheets are just very nice, and they explain things very well. I think I could have spent a little bit more time on the border. I'm not a huge fan of that. But other than that, except for the rendering part, I'm very happy with the character. I learned a lot, especially how to think in depth about a character and how to analyze the steps that they take to reach a better problem solving. But I also learned that if I decide on a theme or I am inspired by something specific, I should really focus on implementing this element overall on every single aspect of the character. But as I said, overall, I'm very happy with the character. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next week with the first character of the world that I made up. And hopefully, till then, bye!